How's it going, everyone? This is your Astrology Horoscope for July 30th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moon Base. Hope you guys are doing great. Good to be here with all of you. A lot of exciting energy coming through, and a lot of mercurial energy that's coming through. Of course, with the moon in Gemini making its conjunction with Mars, Mercury in Virgo preparing to go retrograde, which will happen at 4 degrees. It won't quite make it square to Mars. So there's some things that, are being said right now, a lot of words that are being thrown around. Words are like punches or bullets or, words are very intense and can come across very aggressive. And of course, too, with Mercury, it won't quite make it square with Mars before it goes retrograde, because Mercury's going to get to about 4 degrees. Mars is already at 6 with this moon in Gemini. So Mercury won't pass Mars, which is interesting. So there's some unresolved issues that are going to, be playing out that are going to take a lot longer to really resolve. We don't have all the answers right now at this moment. And I think that's what that message to me that Mercury's sending through is like, hey, I'm not going to quite make it to this square with Mars, So there is an issue that's building up that won't get resolved right away. And it may take even longer than what we really expect. And of course, with Venus preparing for its square to Uranus, and now that Venus is going to make it to 23 degrees here. We're 3 degrees away from this square that we're going to have. And I will say, we got to prepare for some really unexpected shockwaves that are going to come through in our relationship lives, maybe in our work life and our creative life, also some massive breakthroughs. There's going to be some problems to solve, but these issues and these problems that need to be resolved in our relationships and our creative life, will really help us find some really interesting, unique ways of doing things. And I think thinking outside the box to find solutions in our relationships and our creative projects, financial solutions. Of course, this Venus square Uranus, we're definitely going to see some big shakeups financially. We're definitely going to see the crypto and the financial markets keep fucking going nuts here. Of course, with Mercury going retrograde and making it square to Uranus, information is going to keep surfacing. More facts are going to keep surfacing. Of course, with Pluto now getting back to 0 degrees, by September 1st, we'll be back in Capricorn. So this is a grand surfacing, for the show that we're really stepping into with this Mercury retrograde and Pluto retrograde going back into Capricorn. This is like a show that's playing out. And now, it's like the curtain. The curtain has already dropped, honestly, with Neptune and Saturn going retrograde. When Saturn and Neptune went retrograde, it's like the curtain dropped. It really allowed us to focus in more on our reality and look at our reality in, a more practical way, and definitely, removing that delusionary filter. That's a word. So, Moon and Mars conjunct in Gemini, with Mercury not making an exact square, but it's there, pulling at it a little, tugging at it just a bit. So we got to really be careful with what we say. We want to be able to deliver the information in a calculated way and not let the emotions distract us from the facts that we're trying to deliver. Because if we let the emotions take over, then you say things that aren't really true. And, it's like, that's going to be coming out more and more and more is things that were said that weren't necessarily true or real, And Mercury square Uranus is definitely, we already had one of them. We're going to have 3 of them. So there's a whole conversation, and there's this whole layer of truth that is going to bust wide open, that Uranus is going to really just, shock us, that are going to bring some real mental shocks, that are going to challenge our ways of thinking, which is always healthy in the end, because, when our ways of thinking are challenged and we can question things and look at things critically and, think critically, we can create new pathways of understanding, and that is our consciousness expanding and evolving. And, then we have a lot more to give and a lot more to share and a lot more information and knowledge to share, to keep that expansion going. And that's what Jupiter in Gemini is doing, is expanding through information. So our words hold a lot of weight today, and we have to be very thoughtful about the words that are, coming up. But also too, like, our words can be very powerful, even in writing. If you're doing any sort of writing, or, writing a book or writing poetry, even, this is a great time to really let those emotions channel onto the paper, or however you write. I think there's a lot of great potential to really channel some interesting information through the ether with this Moon-Mars conjunction in Gemini. And of course, later throughout the day, this moon will make a conjunction with Jupiter. So there is a little bit of luck involved with this today. And I think if we're willing to really express our words from our heart and from our soul, and I think it can be really expansive, and I think we can really learn a lot when we're able to express our feelings and our emotions, and learn a lot through communicating with others, and opening that doorway for communication. Because Mercury going retrograde, it's like, we're going to have to say it more than one time. We're going to have to get used to repeating ourselves, especially with Mercury going retrograde in a Mercury ruled sign, with Mars in a Mercury ruled sign. There's a lot to be said, and of course with Mercury retrograde and Mercury slowing down. Now, sometimes it's hard to find the words. So this moon in Gemini is helping us make the emotional connection so we can actually find the words and, piece it together and have a greater emotional understanding and a greater logical, rational understanding. And that's what Gemini is all about, is merging the emotional and the rational to create and find a whole understanding. So I think today, we can learn a lot, and definitely get our message and get our point across with this Moon Mars, which can be very emotionally intense. Intense is the word. Moon Mars is always very intense. Moon Mars conjunction people in their natal chart are some of the most intense people that I've ever met personally. But in Gemini, it's more of the words that you say that come across to be so intense. And this, but of course, with the moon, it's the emotions that are conveyed through words. And of course, the intensity and the aggression and the forward. It's like the words can move physical matter. A Moon-Mars conjunction in Gemini is like using words to move physical matter. Let's see what we got. And we got the Five of Wands reversed. So, there can be some arguments, some tension that can come up, and some things that need to be resolved, and not letting the emotions take over. Staying neutral, looking at things from both sides, and not getting caught up in the craziness, because, Mercury in Virgo going retrograde, it's like, it could feel like, oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not putting in enough. I'm not doing enough work. Am I doing enough work? Am I putting enough, is everything as clean as it should be? Is everything in order the way it needs to be? It's like you get so lost into that, kind of perfection and trying to make things too perfect. You can lose the feeling. And this Moon Mars today, wants to hold the feeling and convey the feeling in an intense way. But, when we get into the overthinking or, the what ifs or the what ifs, it can lead to wild, unexpected, unnecessary confrontations with Moon Mars conjunction. So we want to be able to reel that in as much as possible. And yeah, with Venus square Uranus too, this is bringing up relationships and the intensity and the shock waves that are going to be coming through our relationship life over this next week. And definitely in the financial markets and the financial system, we could definitely see over the next week that some shit is going to get weird. So anyway, well, no matter what, with this Uranus energy, it's going to be weird. It's foreign, it's alien, so anyway, hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday, and I will see you all for tomorrow. And we're getting ready for this new moon. So, new moon in Leo. Here we go. Once that moon's in Cancer, balsamic moon in Cancer, the most intense balsamic dark phase of the moon that we go through each year, in my opinion, is when the sun is in Leo, preparing for that new moon in Leo. When that balsamic moon is in Cancer, that's the most emotionally intense, of course the moon rules Cancer. So we only get that once a year. So this is going to be a big reflection point we're going to be going through before we get to the new moon. So preparing for that. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.